What's up, everybody? It's Little Big Robots back with another video for you. Happy New Year. You're probably watching this after the first, I'm sure. I should have it up. It's first, second, third, who knows, someday soon. But being that it's the end of the year or the beginning of the new year, I thought it'd be fun to go over my top 12 toys and or kits or whatever from 21. 12 because I collect 12 lines typically. I think I'm going to lower that to 10 over 22. I just like the more rounded number. I like the control over it. But also I finished 2 lines this year, so I'll be throwing some of those out there. Anyway, let's just get right to it. I'm going to go from the bottom, number 12, to the best at number 1. Okay, so number 12, which is the least of my least favorites, but still fantastic, of course, is going to be, let me get a little more light going on. Let me just do a little bit more light. It's going to be this wonderful doggy toy that I just reviewed recently. You might have seen my review a few days ago. This is the toy from Final Faction. They are a Dollar Tree toy, meaning they come from Dollar Tree, which is like a dollar store chain. Oh, I lost the doggy inside, oh no. Basically it's a line of dirt cheap toys. They're like $1.25 each. And this is the little robot dog. You can't see him because he got lost in there, but he has a little pilot doggy, little chihuahua named Churro, and I lost him. But anyway, all of these will be linked. The playlist with all these will be linked in the description. So if you want to see all the details on this guy, go check that out. I'm not going to go spend so much time on each one because, you know, obviously I have the reviews up and everything, but go check that out. I really enjoyed this toy, and I really like this line a lot. Let's see if I can just set it right there where you can just barely see it. There we go. Number 11 would be this Gachapon lizard. I forget what kind of frilled lizard, what is this, armadillo lizard? I can't remember. I had a bearded dragon as a pet for years, and I'm sure many of you out there have had bearded dragon pets. They're very popular because they're almost like dogs. They're one of the best pet lizards. One of the best pets, really, for beginners, too. It's other than the amount of room they take up. And I've always been a fan of that kind of look. And when I saw this Gachapon from Bandai, I was like, oh, I have to have it because it looks pretty darn... That's just how it comes out of the Gachapon. So Gachapon, in case you don't know, is, you know, you put the money in the machine, you get a little bubble thing, you break it open, and you get a random toy, a thing, an item. They're huge in Japan. They're starting to get much bigger over here. There's a lot of toy lines that are basically based on Gachapon stuff, gambling mechanic, I guess. But this one comes from their animal line. There's some turtles I really want. There's some insects I really want. Well, I'll end up probably getting all of those at some point. But this was my favorite. You can take them apart. But as you can see, just hold them like that, it looks pretty darn real. They've hidden all the joints and stuff inside the frills. But you can take legs off and stuff and see that it's just a little toy. It's almost weird doing that. It's almost like you're taking a leg off a real lizard. But they're fantastic looking. This was something I had kind of dreamed about having for a while, and I was like, screw it, let's pay the 25 bucks or whatever it was on Japanese eBay site, and I got it, and so I'm very happy. So that's going to be my number 11 favorite of 21. Okay, so then we have at, what would this be, 10. So we're getting to the top 10. This is, you could just say 30 minutes missions, period. If you want the line from Bandai, it's a 1/144 scale model kit line. Essentially, they have their Gunpla line, Gundam Plastic, which is Gunpla. And this was kind of just their kind of one-off, you know, lore kind of line, like an original IP. And the idea of it is that you can easily swap all their parts out amongst all the other different kits. So this is made up of, there's one kit here with the underwater parts. This is like a construction arm from an you know, like a expansion kit kind of. And I think I have another part on here somewhere. But anyway, you can easily swap them out. 30 minutes missions are fantastic. This was my favorite of the kits. I think this is a Porta Nova underwater version or something. I'll have to, it's linked again in the description, the actual review of these. But you could just say 30 minutes missions and be fine with it. I actually did a lot of 1/144 scale kits. Oops. But this one's just, I just really enjoyed how, I don't know, how does this even go on? I really enjoyed how fun these were just to throw together and quick. They're supposed to be built in 30 minutes or less, just like that. And you can have a bunch of these built and just have a good time. So that would be my number 10. Next, I'm going to have the number 57 Armored Puppet. This is the Industry Type 9. This particular one I have here is missing some of his armor. I was messing with this one a lot. All the number 57 Armored Puppets, Creative Field is the other brand involved, but you can just search for number 57 Armored Puppets and you'll find all these. All of these are really, really my favorite kits. The robot ones, I'm not so much of a fan how Armored Puppet they're getting into like animals and pirates and stuff. It's not really my bag, so I'm kind of debating if I'm going to continue to collect those. But these particular robot ones where they're just the basic frame, you can take off the armor and see the frame underneath, are just such wonderful little, they're just so fun to play with and pose. They're super posable, you can just mess around with them all day. Imagine painting them with a nice gunmetal gray or something like that. So and as you can see, I've played with them a lot, so excuse me, the parts are all falling off the armor and stuff like that, but they're easy to put back together. Tons and tons of fun. Still, Armored Puppet, still one of my favorite lines. I guess it's going to be number 9, but this one in particular, the Industry Type 9, was really, really good. So let's move on to say him there. Now what do we got? Number 8 would be the Vermin Slasher 2. Rahio is another one of my 12 lines I collect. Some of these toys, by the way, you'll notice, like that one, for example, are not one of my 12 lines I collect. So some of them are going to be little one-offs. But Rahio is one of the 12 lines I collect. It's just a 1/60th scale modular line, kind of like Diaclone, kind of. They're not cheap. They're not super expensive, but they're not cheap, and they got to come from China and everything. But I love them so much. I love building with them and just messing with them. This is the kind of the smaller version of a larger kit called a Vermin Slasher, meaning that it actually fights these aliens. They have these like alien creatures that you can buy for the line, and this is the smaller version, so he's about twice as small. Pilot goes in there and he fights and stuff. But this was, I didn't have too many Rahio kits in 21. I had quite a few, but not too many. But this was definitely my favorite of them. It's not my favorite Rahio kit, but of 21 this definitely is, and as you can see, it's a really fun posable line. It's you can just snap it apart and build it. I have a box like this big just filled with Rahio parts, and I just mess with them and play with them, and they're just so fun. So this is definitely a great kit, so try and pick one of those up if you can. Okay, so next up we're gonna have this guy. I just talked about this in a video recently. This is Pandemoni Toys, or the Alternation line of toys from Pandemoni. This is Quillroy. Quillroy is one of the 6 figures they released. He's probably not my, I don't know, it's a combination of his mold and also the colors without doing anything to it, because my other favorite was Sabotage, but I painted Sabotage because I wasn't quite down with his color. I thought his colors were fine, I just wanted a little more detail. This guy I'm probably the happiest with how it comes out of the box. I love his colors and his paint job. The posability is pretty good on these guys. They have some really, they're all different, so you're gonna have different abilities with different ones, but I love that he has this action shot in the background, these shootouts. I'm not gonna do it right now because I don't feel like picking it up off half of the room there. So it's a line that's trying to recreate kind of like 80s nostalgia for like action parts and stuff like that, and combine it with modern kind of techniques and paint jobs and everything. So imagine if you had some of those cool 80s toys back when you were a kid, or 80s or 90s toys, or even 2000s for some of you out there, kids. But if they had like modern paint jobs and quality plastics and all that good stuff. I love his barbell, his dumbbell weapon. And I noticed the other day, I didn't even notice this, he has his headphones right there. I'm not sure how it would fit over the quills, but I guess it fit between them. But what a fantastic figure. I just absolutely love that one. This would be number 6. This is the MOTU. I'll again have all the reviews linked in the playlist, so please watch. This is another one-off. It's just a toy that came out from a designer I follow on Twitter, and they do a bunch of like kind of industrial looking bots, really cool minimalistic looking things, And to me, the reason I love this so much is not only is it fun to play with and build, but also on the undercarriage and inside stuff has all these great opportunities for detailing. So if you want to paint it and customize it, which is kind of the whole thing, look at all that detail. You really have a lot of fun with putting it together. It really, to me, feels like a bot that you would actually see somebody make. Has this kind of cute face. It could get up and walk, quote unquote, like this. And I do believe the more I look into robot stuff, like I do believe they're going to be wheeled more than have feet, or they'll just fly and they'll just be basically drones that do all your little robot stuff. But this was such a cute little fun build, but also really posable. It has a scale, but it's not really scaled that much, so there's no, it could go with almost any one of these other toys, you know what I mean, because it doesn't really have a scale other than the headlights. Really, it kind of can do whatever. You could turn this into a weapon, but I keep it in the industrial version with the little claw, so it can pick things up. A lot of people, I've seen a lot of people mix these MOTUs with what's the brand, the girls in the robot armor kind of stuff by Quillroy. So Quillroy is, I guess, distributing this, so you need to get it from them. They're not dirt cheap. They're probably 25-30 bucks, I can't remember, but they're 100% worth it. This is easily one of my favorite toys and kits I've ever built. I'm just in love with this little guy. They have a new version coming out that's one-wheeled looking. It's just really fantastic. So go check him out. Again, links will be all in the description, everything. Fantastic little guy there. This is Snapships. You probably heard me talk a ton about Snapships. Snapships is a modular brand of spaceships, and normally they're building spaceships that snap together and you can pop them apart real quick. And they started getting more into little drones and stuff with legs, but in this case they've actually built an actual mech. Just to give you an idea on the scale, let me see if I can get this open. There's the little guy in there, so that's the scale of them. So they're 160, I think they're closer to that, I can't remember. But as you can see, they're not blatantly scaled, so you can really make this could match again with almost any scale. But this is their mech, the Maul, I believe it was called. And it's their actual first attempt at an actual mech. Now you could find ways with all the other remaining ships and parts to kind of make legs and stuff, but this one works so well and it looks so good. I would minus, if it were me though, and I'm going to customize it, I would take the guns away. Probably just not my thing. But they just look so good that you can buy 3 or 4 or 5 of these and really have a cool little scene. It's a good size, it's not too small. I thought it was going to be much smaller because, you know, Snapships the ship is probably that big, so these kind of look big. But that just means that you can build even larger Snapships spaceships to compare next to this guy. But he's just a good chunky big thing. It's got all these great parts in it that you could use in other builds and stuff, and it's such a great line and such a great kit on theirs. Okay, so now we're getting down to my top 4. I just re-reviewed this or showed this. This is the Sherman tank. I'm a Sherman tank collector, so again, this is not a 12. I guess this is one of my 12 lines now. I'm going to start collecting Sherman toys, different versions just in general, because I just love Sherman tanks. But this is made by a company called Cobi, C-O-B-I. I think they're from Poland. Again, I'll link them in the description. And right now I'm actually working on the, this is the Easy 8 version. I can't remember, but I'm building the Jumbo. I've got 2 more versions of this. And I think they actually make a 4th version of the same Sherman tank. But as you can see, it's just the mini people here, whatever they're called, minifigs, are different looking. They're not Lego, you know, so they're really kind of fun looking, kind of mean looking. The one I'm building right now, it has an actual visible, you can actually see the engine and stuff. It's a little bit more advanced, so I'm going to be excited to compare the two. The tracks are a little loose right now. I need to tighten those up. Probably need to take out a few links. But it's been one of my favorite Sherman things, period. This new one I'm building will probably be my new favorite because it's really, really fantastic. But this is a great line. They're not dirt cheap, 50 bucks to 100 bucks, I think, depending on what you get. But you do get a really nice curves here. You do occasionally have them separate a bit, so you do need to kind of go back and re-separate them, especially if you're playing around with them. But they're able to do these nice angles on here in a realistic way without it being too overdone. The scale is kind of strange, you know, because you're building for a minifigure scale, but I think they did a hell of a good job. I love this tank. I play with it all the time. It's just so fun, and that goes on my shelf. And that's what, number 4. So I'm up to the top 3 after this one. So check these guys out if you can. So that's the Kobe tank. Number 3, let's go with the, this is gonna be a bit delicate to work with because he was posed on my shelf. I don't really want to mess with the pose. Such a good pose. He was hanging inside there, like just hanging out, and I had his hand holding his helmet for him. But this is the Joy Toy 125th Iron Wrecker 2. So what is interesting about this one is it's a 125 scale mecha line. They're really, really cool. They come to you like this. You don't have to paint them. You could, of course, do more painting on it and stuff. This one is, in particular, is really interesting because I think they're starting to try to wind up all their scales, but you can actually pull the seat out. So there's where your 125 guy goes, guy or girl. He'll sit right there, kind of stand right there. You can pull the seat out, see all the detail in there, and you can actually fit then your 118 scale people in here. So they're not quite only one scale. I think a 118, I haven't seen a 118 yet inside. I need to do that comparison, but I don't have a 118 figure, I don't think. I'll look around, and if so, I'm going to post a picture of it because there's been people asking for it. Fantastic as all of them. They've got such a nice chunky feel. This is a little bit more loose though compared to the other ones, especially the hands. The hands have a problem holding on to stuff. So if you get this one, it's not really representative of the whole line, because usually the whole line is really, really good and stiff. This one's a bit loose. As you can see there, it's just a bit loose. I kind of wish that was a bit tighter, but you could probably remedy that pretty easy by putting a little even rubber cement or something in there just to kind of tighten it up. But other than that, once you get in a pose, it's fine. But it can't really hold its gun really well. It's just a little bit too loose. So I'm not gonna move him too much because I love this pose that he was in earlier with this guy just chilling out there. His pilot just, so I've got a whole little scene on my shelf where they're all kind of just hanging out. But it's got really, really fun details all up in here and there. You can see the stuff. So even though you might want to paint these guys, you're not going to want to paint this one. So it's really good. That's my number 3. Easily one. I mean, I sit there and play with them all the time. I take them off the shelf and just move them around. It's just a great, 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 great line. Number 2, easy on this one. This is the bulk arm. This is Kotobukiya's Hexagear. Sorry, I keep knocking the camera. Hexagear is a modular building system. Kind of think like a Gunpla kit meets Lego. Kind of. They're not as they're sturdier than a Lego kit. I mean, I'm sorry, than a Gunpla, 1 in 144 scale kit like this. They're sturdier, but they're also thicker and hunkier, and they're not going to be as customizable, but you definitely can swap parts out and stuff like that. This is the bulk arm lumberjack, called lumberjack because he has this giant sword that glows. I guess. I'm not a big giant sword guy, but I went ahead and kept that on him. It's just a fun. The bulk arms are my favorite of all of the Hexagear. I find that for a lot of people, they tend to think that the bulk arm are their favorite as well, because you see these guys always making it into top 10 lists and stuff like that. It opens up in a pretty cool way. Let me see if I can get it going. So it goes like that. The head is actually on the control there. There's a screen. So you need the pilot. Darn it, I didn't bring a pilot. This guy could actually fit. I didn't bring a governor, but he fits in there. He or she fits in there, and then it comes down and folds over and then snaps back into place. It's hard to do this while looking through the camera, but they're just a great line. What I love about this line too is these ridiculously fat feet, which the more I read about, actually realistic mechs, quote unquote, I came across a cool article with a guy from Cambridge or something who's, looking into the kind of the mech thing. And he was saying that if it was to happen, they would need such ridiculously wide feet because of the weight distribution. It would just, if you had a small foot like this, it would just punch right into the ground. If it was a certain giant size. If this size, probably not. So they did these like hovercraft feet that you can actually break off and can be used as individual hovercraft for the little pilots. So they kind of float on water if they want. I just thought that was a really cool design. They are super kind of dorky looking, how big their feet are, but at the same time, I love that it looks that way. It's just so exaggerated. It's just a fantastic kit. Get a bulk arm if that's your first Hexagear. Definitely get a bulk arm. My favorite toy I bought in 21. I think this is pretty early 21. And one of my favorite toys, period, is the McFarlane Toys. I think this is 7-inch Warhammer 40K Space Marine line. This was the first one I bought, It's the only blue one. They're going to have a lighter blue one coming out and a black one and some other ones. But when I first got this, I was just so thrilled. I didn't think it would be this good. I thought it would be a little bit wimpier. And to be fair, you can pull them apart relatively easy once you get to know how to do it. But you can also paint these. They actually have an artist proof, which would be like a gray one, like it's based in. But everything is so chunky and big and fun about these guys that you just, I mean, if I can get this backpack off here, let me show you. See how hard that was to get off? That's, I mean, it's not, it doesn't have as much detail as it could for this size. You could definitely squeeze in a lot more detail, but what I like about this is it's so chunky and solid that I've done a wash on these guys before in a panel lining, and it looks so incredible. But the rest of the figure too is so chunky that once you pull them off and you paint just a little bit of a paint, just a wash, and they look incredible. But even minus the wash, what I like about it is that it's the type of toy. In fact, all the toys I collect or whatever need to fulfill that. If I was 12 years old, 10 years old, or whatever age I was playing with toys, if I would have found one of these, what would I have thought? I would have thought, this is the coolest thing ever. It's just so chunky, it fits in your hand, it's heavy. It's a good heavy toy, it's this real thick plastic. So you could see, you buy these now, and you can still find them on sale, so you can pick up a few. You could see them lasting for years and years and years, just because they're so bulky. The legs and stuff and the joints do get a little loose over time, but if you took it apart, add a little paint, or even if not, just did a flat coat, that would kind of tighten up the joints. It's hard to get off and stuff like that. The parts are hard to get off of the figure at first, but once you figure it out, it's really, really easy. But they have this nice snapping in place. They just feel super chunky. They're not super posable. They're not, you know, going to be doing amazing kick flips and stuff like that. But they're Space Marines are not really supposed to be super posable, like I always say. They just kind of need to look cool and hold a gun. And this is easily one of my top figures of all time. When I got it, I was just like, I was so happy I bought this thing. I think I paid a full 30 bucks, whatever. Now you can get them for $15. I've even seen them as low as 10, but people are really starting to get turned on to this line and are buying them up. So if you see one in a box for a decent sale or whatever, buy it, because a lot of people are buying them and relisting them on eBay for quite a bit. People are taking these, painting them custom for people, like say my brother so-and-so loved so-and-so group or whatever. I would buy this as an artist, do a custom paint job on it and sell it for 100 bucks, 200 bucks. I've seen them go. And they're so big, you can really, really get the details in there. Just fantastic. I love, love, love this line. I've collected every one of them. I got a few of them that are coming. They notoriously, you buy them and they get canceled because they get sold out so fast, or they're delayed in shipping. So, but be patient. You should be able to find all of them. I've got pretty much every one so far, except for the ones that aren't out or haven't really arrived yet. So what a great, I wish I would have bought more of this blue one though. I mean, you can always paint in blue, but I just really, really like this look. I like how it feels, but just such a fun line. If you have a chance to grab one of these and just to pick it up and play with it, you won't regret it. They do take up a little room on the shelf, but at the same time, they stand really easy because they're so chunky. You know, well, I could do it. There we go. You don't necessarily need to stand for it or whatever, but they're just incredible. #1 toy, probably of almost my whole life. I just absolutely love that. So that is my top 12 of 21. Really hard to pick, actually. I mean, I had a lot of good ones, but it was more hard to arrange it in order. So that's pretty much in line with my favorites, 1, 2, 3, you know, down. But any one of these make fantastic toys. Check them out. Again, it's all going to be in the description. It's going to be a playlist with a deeper review for each one. Have a good year. I hope your collection continues to grow. Leave a comment, subscribe, and all that. I have a lot of people who watch but don't subscribe, so if you can please do that, it'd be awesome. And talk to everybody later. Bye-bye. Happy New Year.